pleasant good morning to you, everybody. Welcome into the first new version of the 615 Prep Scoreboard. My name's Chris Brooks. We're getting you through all the scores from the area in week number 1, and I got to bring on Cam and Scott to help me get through them all. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We had some surprising scores in week 1. Typically, we do just because week 1 is, week 1. And we tend to learn a little bit more about some teams than we might have expected in the preseason, but I don't know that we learned a whole lot this week, to be honest. What do you guys think?
I think we were reminded of what week 1 is this week, and that is a time when teams are, getting to know themselves and learning their identity and trying to predict that's kind of like herding cats. It's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask any coach in the mid-state, they're going to tell you week 1 is their biggest nightmare because that's when the most amount of mistakes will happen is in week 1, and teams really kind of see where they're at in a game that matters on the record. That's what decided a lot of games Friday night was one team made a couple more mistakes than the other and wound up suffering the loss.
I do think that coaches did learn, many coaches did learn a valuable lesson for week 1, and that was buy longer pants. I've never seen so many flags for knees being uncovered. And the kids at that point, they can't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know whether that's just a point of emphasis this year, if it's a new rule, but there were flags on flags for just knees being uncovered.
Well, they didn't flag them; they just sent them off.
Well, right.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing here, but it is a point of emphasis. It appears, especially early, because as we saw over at Smith County last night, there were several players on one play that got sent off, and I could overhear one of the officials telling the player, "Get longer pants." So, something to think about going forward. But I mean, the way things have been with supply chain issues, I mean, you may not have enough for everybody. Who knows? I mean, there's different reasons for it, but we saw a lot of it.
If you ever had kids, you know how quickly they grow out of things. So.
Yeah. We've got 52 scores to get you through this morning, so let's go ahead and start the scoreboard up. And we're going to start on Thursday night with Oakland hosting Hendersonville. The Patriots, well, they had their way with the Commandos, 42-0 in let's see some highlights real quick from Oakland and Hendersonville on Thursday night. If I can pull those up just real quick, we'll do that right in a second. Folks, bear with us. It is still the first week of this too. I'll tell you what, I was impressed with Oakland. Here we go. Third play from scrimmage, Cade Hewitt, Quincy Jackson, they were backed up in their own end. This covers 93 yards for Oakland's first points of the season on the third play of the game. 7-zip Oakland. And Jackson filling that role Isaiah Horton filled last year, and he starts off with a bang there. Big play from the Patriots when they were really about ready to punt that first series. C.J. Puckett barreling through tacklers here. 7 seconds left in the first quarter. 14-0 Oakland. Puckett had 2 touchdowns. We'll see another one of his here shortly. Patriots just rolling along there in the first half. And again, another look at C.J. Puckett's score right there. Really, really impressive C.J. Puckett. We'll hear from him in just a minute as well.
I was impressed by how well they played.
Mason Bell here on the carry, works his way through the defense. This one, 43 yards, as it's 21-zip Oakland. This came with 6:13 left in the first half. And really, it's all we have. There were 2 other scores for Oakland, both defensively. Bronson Crisp had an interception return, and Jarrell Franklin had a fumble return in the second half, 35-0 at that point. C.J. Puckett, we had another touchdown for him. Unfortunately, that's not on this clip. It's 42-zip Oakland. So let's hear from C.J. Puckett and Kevin Creasy on that win over Hendersonville. And apologies. We have an error there on that. We'll share that in here in just a moment. Actually, let's just go ahead and talk about this one.
Technology, you gotta love it.
Yeah, love technology.
I was really excited about how well Oakland performed. You mentioned C.J. Puckett.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked really similar to a guy that wore number 2 last year. And, hearing Coach Creasy talk about C.J., he's a kid, he's a senior that's waited his turn behind a stud athlete that, a generational athlete in Josiah Jordan James. And, really excited to see what CJ does this year. That's one of those players that here in week 1 is kind of come out of nowhere for everybody.
And that was really the talk of the offseason is would Oakland be able to reload? And sure enough, they did.
Got that CJ Puckett interview, I believe. We'll hold that up here just a second.
Here we go.
Here with C.J. Puckett from Oakland, 2 touchdowns tonight, 42-0 win. Big way to start the season for you guys. What was the message like in practice leading up to the game this week?
It was talk about how's this team going to be, how we're going to be with everybody leaving. So we want to prove that we still here. We still got players. We still got playmakers. And that's what we put out on the field.
You're one of those guys that's kind of the next man up in the preseason. I mean, what's it been like for you getting ready for this year?
Man, I've been so motivated. Hearing the talk, using this motivation, everything.
You guys had off to a really good start early on. 3 plays in, you score, and then it was just off to the races from there. What's that say about this team coming out in week 1, beating the club like Hendersonville?
We got a lot of heart. That's all it is.
For you this year, what kind of goals have you set for yourself?
Really, I just want to win state. I don't care, but I just want to do whatever I can to help the team. I just want to win state.
It's a pretty good schedule for you guys to start out with. You got Madison Ridgeland coming in next week. What's the feeling going to be like having them here?
We're going to have a better practice. We're going to have to do everything better. Come out, do the same thing. We should win.
You heard him say one of his goals, win state. I mean, that's kind of the feeling that Oakland wants to three-peat. So, yeah.
And he also mentioned the motivation that they got from people talking in the preseason. And being around Coach Kevin Creasy when he was at Trousdale County, he may be one of the best motivators in all of coaching in the state of Tennessee.
Speaking of Kevin Creasy, why don't we hear from him?
Head coach Kevin Creasy from Oakland, 42-zip victory over Hendersonville. A new year, but really good start for your kids against Hendersonville, a team that you've seen enough over the last couple of years to know what they do and be able to prepare for them. How did you feel like tonight turned out for them?
We knew it was going to be tough, especially early. We made a few big plays. Got real fortunate. Thought that we had some guys that probably nobody heard of that made some big plays for us. Quarterback did pretty good at times. Offensive line did pretty good at times. Got a lot to clean up. I thought our defense played really, really hard-nosed kind of ball that we're used to playing around here. Played hard. Probably need to shore up some more tackles. A lot of guys were going for the big hit, but we shore up some assignment mistakes and just clean up some tackling. We've got a pretty good defense that we can lean on.
You look at a player like C.J. Puckett, talk about breaking tackles. He broke a few of his own a couple times tonight. Having him in the backfield, what's that do for this team?
C.J.'s one of the strongest guys on our team, so he's kind of waited his turn, and he's a senior now, and he loves Oakland and wants us to do real well. And if it means he's got to block on a play, he will. If it means he's got to go out for a route, he'll run a route. But he looked really good tonight on a couple of long runs where he just imposed his will, I guess you could say. He made a lot of people miss tackles tonight. And he's a physical kind of runner, and that's what we always need.
Madison Ridgeland comes in here next week. You guys had to make a long trip down there last year. Now you get to host them. What are you looking forward to for next week?
Their first game, I know they had the continuous clock running on a Greenville Christian team that was phenomenal last year. So they've already beaten a really good opponent. And, I'm thinking they're probably got revenge on their mind. Long road trip's going to be tough. It always is. But With that being said, they got great coaches. They got great players. It should be a great atmosphere.
All right, Coach. Appreciate the time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's going to be a really, really interesting ball game next week. Madison Richland coming into Oakland.
Yeah, just to clear that up, they just beat a playoff team. Hendersonville should be in the playoffs this year, 42-0. And what I got out of that interview is Coach Creasy still found several things to work on. Never satisfied there at Oakland.
Yeah, Oakland did turn the ball over 3 times in this game, so they have some things to clean up for sure. Scott, you were over at Pearl-Cohn on Thursday, and probably the best game any of us saw this week with Cain Ridge. Let's talk about that one for a minute. 17-14, Cain Ridge wins that one. And before we get to the highlights, just tell me a little bit about what you got out of that one.
Well, typical first game, a lot of penalties, a lot of errors. But what really I saw out of it is just how good Siobhan Abdullah for Cain Ridge is at quarterback. I know he's Mr. Do Everything over there. He had the game-winning kick from 39 yards, and that thing would have been good from probably from 49. But Pearl-Cohn seemed to struggle. I think they're still trying to find their identity. Losing a Berrien Brown, a Martino Owens type quarterback and things of that nature. The quarterback they have back there now is going to be really good, very mobile. I think that he's still got to work on, progressions and things like that because they had receivers open. So I think that Pearl probably didn't have their best game. Cain Ridge played spectacularly. And Reggie Goodlow Jr. was absolutely electric running the ball. One kind of scary thing is Coach Brunetti took a shot on the sidelines and injured himself. But tough guy that he is, he stayed in there and barked even though he was bandaged up pretty good.
Yep. Well, let's get to some of these highlights real quick. We'll start this thing out in the first quarter. Siobhan Abdullah finding Byron Davis around the edge, and Davis does the rest. Down the sidelines and 48 yards for Cain Ridge. 3:01 left in the first 7-zip Ravens. Then the catch we're all talking about. We'll show it here in just a second. Folks, I don't need to say anything. Just have a look.
All you got to do is dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
Jalen Johnson, go get it. 14-zip Cain Ridge. Pearl-Cohn gets it back a little bit in the third quarter. Malachi Cromwell from a few yards out, 14-6 after they missed the extra point. Late in the third, though, the Firebirds do tie this thing up. Here's Javion Kennard around the left side and in. All even at 14 apiece. Then Cain Ridge gets their last shot. Siobhan Abdullah, also the quarterback, decides he's going to use his foot to end this one. 39-yard field goal. Money. Final score, Cain Ridge 17, Pearl-Cohn 14.
Gutsy call by Cain Ridge to go for it on fourth down on that drive and just maintain and end that. And I do want to shout out to our videographer, Annette, who got the shot of that catch. She hung in there because it looked like from where I was standing, I thought it was going to wind up in her lap. So
right in the living room, folks. That's what we do around here.
And guys, this Cain Ridge team really answered several of our questions here in week 1. Last year they struggled getting out of the gate and really were playing catch up in the second half of a lot of games. This game is kind of a little bit of the opposite. Coach Woods, we'll see in his interview, he talks about adversity. And, they got up 14-0 and Pearl-Cohn come back and tied it. When they come back and tied it, the Ravens showed a lot of resolve and found a way to get it done on the road.
Yeah, we'll get to those interviews here in just a second. Scott, let's hear from Jalen Johnson first.
Here with Jalen Johnson after Cain Ridge's huge win over Pearl-Cohn here at Pearl. Jalen, big game. You guys come out on top. What was the feeling this week going into this game?
We came in with a chip on our shoulder because we got put out early first round last year.
and they beat us. I think it was 38-19, right? We just couldn't go for that. We haven't beat them since my freshman year. So we just came out with a chip on our shoulder, and we just know we had to beat them.
Walk me through that catch. That was huge because it put you up 2 scores. And, that became almost the insurmountable lead.
It's a great feeling. I never had that feeling before. I was starstruck when it happened, honestly.
Yeah, it was a fantastic catch, and probably the talk. It was
probably going to be the catch of the year.
I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it. In week one. You got more to live up to, though.
Yeah.
So
there's more coming every week.
Yeah.
It's going to get better and better.
Now, in the off season, you guys, you said you had a chip on your shoulder. You feel like you got a little bit of retribution tonight?
Yeah, it's still some things we have to work on, though. Like, defensively, we've been giving up too many drives. Like, they shouldn't have 14 points. Like, secondary, we got to work on coverage. Defense, we got to work on squeezing the line. But I would say we played pretty good today. I
was going to say, you made some plays on defense, especially at the end of the first half, that you had that big sack that kind of ended the half for them. So, you guys played outstanding defense. Looked like you played great on both sides of the ball.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, congratulations. Enjoy your win. Good.
Before we get to the next interview, I want to ask you guys a question. Have we kind of undersold Cain Ridge a little bit as a contender in 6A? We talked about them winning the region, but as a state contender, have we undersold them?
It depends, because we talk about how week one we don't really know. They answered that question that we had about them. So I do think they're fully in the picture at this moment.
Yeah, I think that maybe maybe they have been undersold just a little bit. Just coming out of 6A, everything is there are so many good teams there. But if this team showed me anything, they matched Pearl-Cohn speed for speed. And I think that was something that, personally, I didn't anticipate how well their defense would be and how well their defense could play. So yeah, perhaps we'll see more as it goes on. But if the first week's any indication, yeah.
All right. He did it with his arm and with his leg. Here's Siobhan Abdullah.
Here with Siobhan Abdullah.
Yes, sir.
Huge win for the program. 17-14 over Pearl-Cohn here at Pearl-Cohn. Coming in, what were you guys thinking? What was your confidence level coming in?
Man, coach gave us a great game plan. We just had to believe in him and trust in our players, and we execute every play.
You got talk to me about you had that one long pass to set up. You get the initial lead. How big was that to jump up in front?
Man, it was a great momentum booster. But we slowed down a little, but we still had each other's back and brought each other back up.
Yeah. Now, walk me through that pass down here to Jalen.
Oh my God, he's the best athlete I've met. It was a screen fake. I know I saw the size different. I threw it up. I believed in my play.
Yeah, you pumped it. He went up, one hand grab.
Yes,
yeah, that was outstanding. Put you guys up. How big was that? Being up 2 scores at the half.
Man, it was great for our momentum, for our heads. We had to keep pushing, fighting through adversity.
And they come out in the second half and really, get things going.
Yes,
your defense. Talk about your defense being able to hold them to 14 points here.
Our coach, defensive coordinator, great game plan, great prep. And we just came out, execute, listen to our coaches, trusting in each other. There was a lot of communication going on in the defense we needed.
That last drive was absolutely huge.
Yes,
you guys worked the clock while driving it down the field. A couple times you had to scramble and make plays. I mean, what was going through your guys' head as you were moving down the field? What'd you tell your guys?
I just want my guys to keep going. We have to fight through adversity. Our coach goes through that every day, talks with us every day, fight through adversity, and that's what we did.
And then walk me through that kick. That had to feel good.
My coaches asked me, you think you can hit it? I said, let's go. My teammates believe in me. I believe in myself. My coach believes in me. That's all that matters.
Outstanding.
Yes,
well, congratulations on the win. 1-0.
Yes, sir.
And congratulations, and have a good rest of the season.
You too.
That's pretty important to have a guy that can make a kick like that when you need him.
Yeah, he was impressive, and his leadership evidently is he's saying the right things, and Coach Woods has that team believing.
Yep. All right, here's Eddie Woods.
Coach, tremendous win for your program. You told me at media day that you guys had some unfinished business,
Yes.
and you wanted to set a tone. You think this win here at Pearl is what you wanted out of your team?
Well, the first thing you want to know about your team when they fight through adversity, when they come out fast, that was a problem for us last year. Coming out fast and, just keeping our foot on the gas. Third quarter, they made some adjustments. They sped up on it. We couldn't get the defensive calls in, so we had to adjust to that. But once we adjusted to that, the guys took the adjustment, and when they made it, they scored and tied it up. We didn't flinch. And that shows a lot for a team that didn't really have a great culture last year to be able to pull out a win against a good team like that.
And in the first half, you got the big turnover, and you were able to make timely plays to keep them off the board.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Jalen Johnson had a big sack at the end of the half that kind of ended their drive for them. Talk about your defense. Because holding Pearl to 14 points at home is no mean feat.
Yeah, we were confident in our defensive game plan. Now, they came out and they made some adjustments. They sped up on us and tied the game up. And I think it was pride, too. They thought they wanted to do that. But at the same time, for us to hold them 14 points and hold them scoreless in the first half at home, I don't know when the last time that was done. But that's a tough team, and they pride themselves on being tough. For us to match their toughness, that intensity, and that energy, that was big for us, especially coming to week one.
Let's talk about tough, and let's talk about your quarterback, Shvon Abdullah.
Mm-hmm.
He made some very, very timely throws, and some really good throws.
Mm-hmm.
How big do you think he played tonight?
He played huge, and he rushed for a 4th and 1. I was in midfield. I said, I'm going for it. If the offseason is paying off, if the culture is starting to get back like it's supposed to be, that it was a few years ago, we'll get it. All right, so the kids, I said, what you going to do? Go for it, and they got it. Same thing at the end. He make those at practice all the time. They say, Coach, we want to kick the field goal. Okay, let's kick it. Just everything come full circle. You're trying to fix the culture. You own them, and then we get to a point like this to being able to start trusting them. You know what I'm saying? And that was big for me. We got to be able to trust each other, and I believed in them, and they made that kick call. I wasn't real confident in it because I knew they could return it.
Yeah.
But I said, hey, let's go with it.
Yeah, I was going to say that was a gutsy call.
Yeah.
But you showed a lot of confidence in your quarterback / kicker.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. We got a few kickers. We got a young kicker too that we feel good about, but he does it so well. He's an all-region kicker last year. I think he made special teams get player of the year because he always put him in. Most of the time, he put him in his zone. As you can see, the field goals. He got the opportunity to do it. And they protected their butts off too because Pearl-Cohn came after it. Just trust, man. Just trust. I'm just proud of them guys just to fight through that adversity.
Outstanding. Well, Coach, I know you got to go, and I appreciate your time.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations on the win. Good luck going forward.
Okay.
I know you're proud of your team, and it looks like the culture that you were looking for, you're getting it put in.
Yeah, just keeping the heads down and staying humble, and then just taking to the next level. Okay, We won the game, but we made these mistakes. We made these mistakes. Didn't get lined up on it, and them to constantly buy in to get better, and not kind of rest on anything. You know what I mean? So that's the next step.
Outstanding.
Yes,
I appreciate you, Coach.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Now, the key word that I came up a couple of times in the interview was culture. And there's one thing that he was really stressing about trying to turn back around at Cain Ridge. So it seems like that's a good way to start rebuilding that culture for the Ravens.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely something that he was focused on. He felt last year that when they would come up against adversity, they would shrink from it. He wants them to attack it head on, and that's what happened in this game.
Yeah, Cain Ridge will travel to Antioch this week, and Pearl-Cohn's going to head to NBA to try to rebound after the loss. Cam, what you got?
One more thing off of what Coach Woods said. He said, you push them, and they come through for you, which they did here in this ball game, and then you can start trusting them. So we may not have seen Cain Ridge at their best yet.
Yeah. So some of their tougher games are going to be later in the season, so one to keep an eye on here in 2022. Before we go any further, let's hear from our sponsor of this show, Fifth Gear Technology Concepts.
In today's business world, it can be expensive to maintain a staff of experienced and knowledgeable IT personnel, especially for a small or medium-sized business. You don't have the time to monitor your own systems or stay up on the latest cybersecurity or technological solutions while trying to service your customers. That's why you should contact Fifth Gear Technology Concepts. Fifth Gear is an award-winning managed service provider that can manage your business needs with local and responsive IT support services. Fifth Gear specializes in fully managed or co-managed IT support, cybersecurity, cloud solutions, and superior customer care that can fit your budget. Call today and learn more at 615-606-3121 or visit us at fifthgearconcepts.com. Fifth Gear Technology Concepts, the latest insights and information in the world of IT.
Definitely want to thank Fifth Gear Technology Concepts for coming on and being the title sponsor of the Scoreboard Show this year. I'm very appreciative of their support of 615 Preps. Let's continue with some scores. Lebanon 49-14 over Antioch. This one got away early. 35-zip Lebanon after one quarter. Anthony Correll, four touchdowns on 5 catches. He had 2 receiving touchdowns, an 88-yard kickoff return, and an interception return for a touchdown. Their two-way standout already making his presence known in 2022. Lebanon will host Wilson Central next week, and Antioch will travel to Cain Ridge, just as we mentioned a moment ago. Nolensville 38-14 over BGA. The Knights in 1-0 will host Giles County next week. BGA travels to Ravenwood on Thursday night. Probably one of the more surprising scores of the night. Brentwood 23, Blackman 14. Guys, let's talk about this for a second because we talked about Blackman's blazing fast offense all year. It did not get off the ground all that well against Brentwood.
No, definitely surprising to me. I think that, we knew that defense was going to be a key for Blackman, but I think we need to talk about Isaac Hayes, the kicker for Brentwood. Put them up 3 straight field goals, one from 51, one from 49. What's the difference in the game? He had 11 points, and it turned out to be a 9-point victory. So shout out to the kicker there. But, this one was really surprising.
Yeah, I had a chance to watch some of this one. In Brentwood, it was really Blackman's offense still performed as tight end Ben Marshall had 7 catches for 201 yards, 2 touchdowns. Quarterback Jack Reisner, 293 yards through the air. They just couldn't finish drives. They would get it inside the 30 and couldn't finish the drives. Now, defensively, I believe Blackman answered our question because Brentwood tried to run it right up the middle on them most of the night. So I do like what I saw on the Blackman defensive side of the ball, but they have to finish some drives to beat these better teams. Big test next week against another team that pulled an upset in week 1.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Continuing on with some scores, Independence and CPA was our spotlight game this week. 42-24 CPA, and to be honest, CPA got out in the second half away from Independence in this one. The Eagles tried to keep pace in the first half, and we'll get to some highlights here in just a second. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and get those rolling. First quarter, after a 3-0 lead from Independence, here's Thomas Vaccaro for London Humphreys, and he says it's mine. CPA goes up 7-3 on that touchdown. It was the first of 2 TD catches for London Humphreys on the night. Independence did come back here in the second, or late in the first quarter, sorry. Trey Hartwell from a yard out. This was on 4th and goal. They push their way in and take a 10-7 lead after 1. Indy at this point, keeping pace with CPA, but Cruz Law, the first of 3 touchdown runs on the night. This one from 3 yards out. 10 minutes left in the second quarter, and the Lions take a 14-10 lead. Law had 3 touchdown runs on 3 carries. After an interception, coming back for London Humphreys, gets both feet down, just need one, but he got them both. And the Lions take a 21-10 lead midway through the second quarter. And this is kind of where it started getting away from Independence just a little bit. Braden Neum runs a quick route right there at the end zone. This also on 4th and goal. He gets in. They cut the lead to 4 with just under 3 minutes to go in the first half. But a long kickoff return put CPA back in scoring range immediately, and Cruz Law does the rest. 7 yards into the end zone. He did fumble on the way in. They talked about this one for a long while, but it ended up being a touchdown for the Lions. 28-17 CPA at that point. That's where it stood at halftime. Again, now Cruz Law, 3 touchdowns on 3 carries, and just a big night from him, and we'll hear from him shortly. And see, it took a little bit for these officials to actually rule it a touchdown. They finally did, and CPA got to go celebrate. Again, Cruz Law, not just a goal line back. This one from 40 yards out in the third quarter. 90 seconds into the second half, CPA's up 35-17 and starting to impose their will just a little bit on the Independence defense. Eagles not going away there. Brooks Sapone was in the game at quarterback for the Eagles, finds Daniel Morales. This for 35 yards and an Independence touchdown. It's 35-24 CPA early on in the fourth quarter, but they couldn't draw any closer, and the Lions finally finished it off. Here's a late TD from Josh Marinick, 25 yards for him, and they finished it off in style, 42-24 for CPA in that opening week win. Guys, first thoughts before we get into the interviews.
That number 11, running that physical style of running, that looks awfully familiar.
It is, and you'll hear why here in just a second. Same number, same last name, just a little bit younger running back. Here's Cruz Law.
Cruz, look like you got a nose for the end zone. Pretty good way to start your 2022 season. Talk about this tonight and what it meant to you to have the number 11 like your brother did.
I mean, it's awesome, just that opportunity. Glad I get to carry it on. Then 3 rushing touchdowns. I mean, that's on my line. I'm walking through huge holes, having to beat one guy. I mean, I can't do it without my line. Great plays.
You know, the way that you guys have been able to put skilled players back in after everybody graduated last year, what's that say about the program right now and where they are?
I mean, great coaches. For sure, great coaches. I mean, we just got a bunch of athletes. Andre Evans, London Humphrey's gotten so much better. I mean, Saul, 88. Braxton Orr, he's new. He hasn't played since freshman year. He's an athlete. Trey Brown didn't play much last year. He's going to be a huge role. He's going to be a big guy for us this year. So this is awesome.
Independence had you guys pretty tight in the first half. What was the difference tonight for you guys pulling away?
We just kind of put it together. We were missing just little opportunities in and out. We had a fumble. We had just a couple of bad mistakes. We got it together and we just came out and played.
No, even though Coach Martin's not here, everything seemed to run seamlessly. Talk about this week in practice and how it was, even though you guys knew he probably would not be here.
Yes, sir. For Coach Haywood, I mean, he's intense too. Great coach. So he was honest. He wasn't going to let us just stop going full speed. So, I mean, he's an awesome guy to step up. Great guy to have.
Now, it's a great way to start. So, what do you guys need to do next week to keep the momentum rolling?
Play exactly. I mean, play a team game as we played. Clean a few things up, and we should be good. I mean, feel good tonight.
What did your brother say to you after the game tonight? After we were his number?
Oh, he'll love it. Yes, sir. He was actually he was the first person I told when I chose 11, and he was pumped. So he should be pretty excited. Yes, sir.
All right, congratulations. Great night tonight.
Thank you.
And he should be pumped for good reason.
Yeah, and I don't want to take away anything from this Independence team either. I still think they're a really good football team. I just think CPA is further along in their progression than what a lot of us expected after losing what they lost last year to graduation. Huge win for the Lions at home. Even makes it even bigger having that win without Coach Martin there. CPA is still a player there in Division II, 2A.
Yep, for sure. And the way Nolensville's Little League team is playing, Mingo Martin may be up there for a little while longer. There's a chance he may not be at that game in Brentwood Academy this week, but we'll figure that out as the week goes on. Filling in for him was assistant coach Steve Haywood, and here I've got a little bit of a chat with him.
Acting head coach Steve Haywood for CPA. Big win over Independence to start week 1. Found a little bit of two-dimensional offense early, guys. A big deal for you guys.
Yeah, it's something we've been working on. Get doing that. We've got guys at quarterback and receiver, guys up front and back. So we're going to try to see if we can't give all those guys a chance.
With Engel running around up in Williamsport, what's it been like for you this week leading the team?
It's been really good. I mean, it could not have been this good had we not had the assistant coaches that we have. And then just every step of the way that everything I did, every day, hey, coach, whatever I can do to help you, you let me know. We believe in you. We trust you. So I can't say enough about the assistant coaches and how they just really filled in and did so much.
The pieces that graduated last year and having guys just step in and plug those spots, it looked like it was kind of a seamless transition. What do you think about it?
Yeah. I mean, we've been, we've been working those guys from whatever is in July and doing some of the same stuff over and over again, and just what they're bringing is pretty special. They're just a really special group of guys.
Cruz Law, three touches, 3 touchdowns. Not a bad way to debut a new number.
Yeah, his brother and I were just talking about it. I said, I remember he scored on that one, and then somebody else said the same thing, and then I started to remember the short yardage stuff. But he's just a great kid. He's doing everything he's asked to do on both sides of the ball. Never says anything about not playing or playing, so he's going to be a special player.
London Humphreys obviously was advertised that big catch of the end zone was something special, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's going to go up and get the football again. A great teammate. More than anything about those guys are great players and they're really good teammates.
What do you take away the most from tonight?
I think the amount of effort. Engel talks about it with our guys all the time. We reiterate it. Effort and attitude is the only thing we can ask for you, not what happens on Scoreboard. And I think about the long run where Dre ended up tackling the guy and it turns into a field goal. And then the very first play when we fumble the ball. And everybody that was a part of that team came around the guy who fumbled the ball and said, "You're good, we got you." And he ends up with over 200 all-purpose yards. It's pretty special.
Yeah. Coach, congratulations on the win. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
We mentioned Cruz Law with 3 touches and 3 touchdowns. London Humphreys had 2 receptions for 2 touchdowns. So as far as efficiency goes, you can't beat that when it comes to your kids. Let's continue on with the scoreboard. And McGavick gets 3 touchdown receptions from Demetrius Bell, the Michigan State commit. 26-21 win in Clarksville to get the Raiders off on the right foot for Philip Stevenson in his debut as a head coach. Really good win for McGavick because that program seems like it's starting to make a little bit of a headway in that region.
Yeah, playoff appearance last year, and this win in week 1 definitely shows that they fully expect to be a player again in the playoffs come October.
Clarksville will travel to Springfield next week. McGavick gets Hillwood at home. Creekwood a 13-7 winner at Dixon County. The Redhawks will host Fairview next week. Dixon County 0-1 will travel to Columbia. Here's another surprising score. Middle Tennessee Christian knocks off Division II single-A defending champion DCA 19-7 on the road.
Yeah, I think in this one, MTCS just they lost so much last year that it was really surprising to us, and I know that there are others out there that it wasn't surprising to, that they were able to take on a DCA team and defensively play so well.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how well CPA has progressed after losing what they lost. DCA seemed to have a couple holes that weren't quite figured out yet in week 1.
This one's surprising to some. East Nashville 32, Father Ryan 20. The Eagles making a statement in week 1 in a game that they lost handily last year.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. Quarterback Zach Beard, 9-15, 269 yards, 2 touchdowns passing and 2 touchdowns running. Stud receiver there in Frank Gordon, 3 catches, 157 yards and a touchdown. The Irish just had a hard time containing the speed and the athleticism and the quick passing game for the Eagles.
Eagles will take on Stewart's Creek at home next week. Father Ryan gets Brentwood at home in week number 2. High-scoring game here in week 1. Macon County 43, East Robertson 33. And, guys, this one had plenty on both sides offensively.
Yeah, East Robertson led 33-28 there coming out in the second half. Macon County found a way to get it done on the back of Gage and Zach Borders, twin brothers, play running back, wing back there for Macon County. Gage with 150 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns. Zach with 104 yards on the ground. Big win for the Tigers on the road here in week 1, and they're a team that answered a lot of questions. Lost a lot of skill guys last year, but they returned some pretty good pieces on the offensive line, and it showed in this matchup with the Indians.
I think that you're exactly right. I think Macon County's line was probably the difference in this game. Even though that both teams scored pretty high, I think that it's these two teams are both teams that can get it done. They may be just a little bit better than some people. You better not underestimate them. Let's just put it that way.
Before we go on to the scoreboard, let's take a quick break and get a little bit of a word from one of our other sponsors for 615 Preps, Innovate Medical. Continuing on with some scores, page 19, Fairview nothing in the Battle of 840. The Patriots get the shutout on the road. Great atmosphere over there at Fairview from everything that I saw in some of the photos and the videos that were at that ball game. Page gets Franklin at home next week. Fairview will travel on the road to Creekwood. Riverdale 14, Franklin 10. This one a little bit of a surprise too, that it was a closer game than last year for sure.
Yeah, the Warriors struggled on offense. Admiral scored with about 5.5 left to take a 10-7 lead, but Riverdale found the resolve and the want to and wound up punching one in the end zone to squeak out a victory on the road.
I tell you, I'm really interested about the upcoming game because Franklin's defense played very well, and I'm interested to see just how good that defense is, and they'll get tested next week.
Yep. Page gets to host Franklin next week. Riverdale travels to Rossview in week number 2. FRA 29, Nashville Christian 24. Justin Geisinger's first win as the FRA head coach in a game that they also flipped from last year. They had a big loss to Nashville Christian in 2021. And FRA will host Silverdale next week. Nashville Christian hits the road to travel to Goodpasture. We talked about an upset earlier. Gallatin did that against Mount Juliet 27-18. The Green Wave with an impressive opening win over the Golden Bears. Cam, they go to Blackman this week, and that's one of those games I think people are going to have their eye on.
Yeah, huge game next week. Blackman with a bad taste in their mouth after a disappointing outing on the road at Brentwood. They come back to the Inferno. They welcome the Green Wave coming off a huge rival win. We talked about the matchup between Ethan Crisp and Jaheim Merriweather, but Zakai and Brinkley really showed up at the fullback position for Gallatin this week. 194 yards, 3 touchdowns, just a bruising back. You know, he's a bigger kid there at fullback. But now here's another test for Coach Watson and the Green Wave. You know, the last couple years, last year they won their first playoff game in like 13 years. But the last couple of years, they would win a game like this, and then they would have a letdown the following week. And that's a huge test for Coach Watson and this team. Can they go on the road to a Blackman team that's going to be excited and hungry to avenge their week 1 performance and still get it done? That's a huge game next week, probably the best matchup in the Mid-State.
Teams don't generally want an open date as early as Mount Juliet's getting theirs, but this might be at a good time for them to kind of regroup and get ready for region play as the Golden Bears will be off in week number 2. Moving on, Cheatham County 19, Glencliff nothing. A couple of teams that were looking to try to get some momentum in 2022, and Cheatham County starts off on the right foot. They'll have Harpeth at home next week. Glencliff will travel to Whites Creek. Next set of highlights coming up here shortly. Springfield over Greenbrier. Scott, you were out there Friday night, 35-0 Yellow Jackets, and really it was kind of the score was indicative of kind of how it went, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first quarter was really tight, but Greenbrier got Springfield benefited from short field in the second quarter. There were some punt malfunctions and some turnovers there, but really this was the Devin Crenshaw show. He made some timely plays. Greenbrier, the score isn't is not indicative of how tough this game was. It was really some big plays on Springfield's part that got him out, but the huge play was Crenshaw's long run, which Coach Elmore thought was the pivotal play in the game because it happened 12 seconds before halftime, and he just thought it was just that almost a nail in the coffin. Not that 21 points is an insurmountable lead, but he felt like it was the pivotal turning point in the game.
Yep. Let's get to some of those highlights now. With starting off first quarter, Devin Crenshaw here with a 5-yard touchdown run to put Springfield up 7-0. I mean, those were the only points he really needed on the night, but he had plenty more to give. Early TD for Springfield there in the second quarter. And the first of many for Devin Crenshaw this season. Looks like finding Clarence Cobbins here. 44 yards to the house. 9:53 to go in the first half. 14-0 Springfield. And Crenshaw showing he's got the arm as well as the legs. Speaking of those legs, he uses them for 71 yards. As Scott just talked about that backbreaker near the half, weaving through the Greenbrier defense, breaking another tackle, and finding his way home. 21-0 Springfield at the half. But the Yellow Jackets were not done in the second half. Middle third quarter. Crenshaw back to throw, finds Kimarian Flair over the middle. 56 yards later, 28-0 Springfield. And at this point, they're starting to celebrate, but a little more business to tend to there in the fourth. From a yard out, it's Lamarius Daniels plowing his way in for the final score of 35-0.
Yeah, I think Coach Wilson and Springfield have found themselves another weapon in Zamarian Flair. This is a kid who hasn't played football since 8th grade. Now he's in his senior year. He's 6'3". He's got speed. He had a fumble recovery. He had an interception, and then, of course, that touchdown. Springfield has won this matchup now it's 9 years in a row. This senior class, I believe it's going into this game was like 136 to nothing. Greenbrier hadn't scored, I guess now 5 years. So there was a lot of pride on the line for Springfield to kind of hold on to that tradition.
Yep. Let's hear from Devin Crenshaw after the game. As he talked with Scott.
Everybody was in line. I was the first one. You ready?
Yes.
You got good light?
Yeah.
Okay. So Devin Crenshaw, big night for you.
Yes, sir.
A couple big touchdown passes, a long 71-yard touchdown run.
Yes, sir.
First of all, talk about coming into this week. What was your team's focus?
We're just focused on the green team, honestly. We came in a week, we're all fired up, and we just want to put points on the board and keep them scoring. And then 4 years in a row for us. Greenbrier's had 0 points, so hey, that's good on the defensive side of the ball.
So that was something that was in the back of your minds on the defense, and
oh yeah,
and
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess the offense appreciated and supported your defense.
Oh yeah.
So, what was it that did you come in knowing you could throw them? Excuse me, I'm going to get that stink bug off you. Did you come in knowing you could throw the ball on them?
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. We practiced all week on it. We put in some special plays just for them, studied their film, and we got the job done.
It seemed like they were doing a good job shutting down your running game, but you were able to keep them off balance and actually break some big runs.
Oh yeah.
Was that something that you guys did, or is it just something that the coach changed on the fly, or was that an audible that you called?
That's something the coach did. Hey, we've been running it all week, like I said, and big players make big plays, set the tone.
Absolutely. And talk to me about your receivers.
We got great receivers. I put trust in all of them. Throw them the ball, they can go up and make a play. They're all athletic, and I put a lot of trust into them.
How do you feel about your team's chances this year?
Oh, I feel great about our chances. We're going to keep practicing all year, keep getting that work in, and we're gonna make it back to state championship.
Oh, big words, words.
We're coming for that big red team for sure.
Well, congratulations on the win.
Yes, sir.
Hey, great night. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Hey, you getting any?
Throwing shots at Henry County there, isn't he?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. They split those two meetings last year, so they certainly want revenge for that playoff loss. But that kid with a lot of confidence and for good reason. I mean, he's got the physical tools to lead that team to some big things this year.
Yeah. He's a player. Greenbrier, I'll just touch real quick on Greenbrier. I don't want to leave them out. They kind of are what we expected. The front seven on defense are pretty good for the Bobcats. Had a couple lapses on the back end. A couple of receivers get behind some safeties. That kind of thing happens early on in the season. They'll get that corrected. Offensively, Greenbrier's got to find ways to score points to win games and ultimately make the playoffs like some of us think that they can. That defense is good enough to make the playoffs, but can they find the points to do it?
Yeah, you're right, Cam. The biggest problem I saw, or the biggest standout in this game, was just the effectiveness of the Springfield defense. Their linebackers and their defensive line were just shut down just about every hole. Their corners were able to. They were able to force Greenbrier to throw the ball. They were still able to get pressure on Greenbrier. Flood could not find any open space. And when they did, they were harassing their quarterback, and he had difficulty making the throws. That being said, I think Greenbrier has got the tools to do well. Nathan Robinson, I saw him fight through 2 double teams and make plays in the backfield. Their defensive line is no joke either, and they held Springfield. Like I said, the running game was not all there. If it wasn't for that one long 71-yard run, they would have held him under 100 yards rushing.
Greenbrier gets to try to regroup Thursday night at White House while Springfield has Clarksville at home. I want to go ahead and keep on moving with the scores here. Harpeth 28, Joe Burns 14th. Harpeth gets their first win of the season, and they'll travel to Cheatham County next week. Joe Burns on the road at McEwen in week number 2. Pope Prep 34-14 winners at Hillsboro. They're back home against Pure Youth Alliance next week. Hillsboro gets a region game in week 2, a rarity around these parts, but a key one for them is they have Station Camp at home. They need to regroup quickly.
Yeah, that's a must-win for a playoff appearance.
Kenwood big over Hillwood 44-7. They're at Green Hill in week 2. Hillwood traveling to McGavock this coming Friday. Hunters Lane 21-12 winners over Maplewood in that Metro matchup. Warriors get Sycamore at home this week. Maplewood will host Republic. Centennial 38, Overton 28. And Cougars are trying to make some noise this year, and this is a good way to start between one of those teams that we think could have a say in 6A as well in the Bobcats. Overton traveling to Stratford in week number 2. Centennial at home against Lincoln County. NBA 46, Ravenwood 20. This is one of those scores that I think people were surprised by. NBA just imposed their will in the second half to get away from Ravenwood in this one. Guys, thoughts on the we talked about this matchup, the quarterback matchup, and Marcel Reed got the better of it.
Yeah, most impressive performance of week 1 for sure goes to the Big Red, in my opinion. They jumped up a couple scores early, 13-0. Ravenwood answered 13-6. They go back and forth there until halftime. And in the second half was all Big Red. Ravenwood scored with 50 seconds left in the game. It was 46-13. Marcel Reed was as advertised. Chris Parson, that defensive line for NBA really set the tone. I mean, Chris, you mentioned in our show that you picked Ravenwood because of Parsons' ability to make plays on it with his feet. He couldn't get the edge with these guys. I mean, he could scramble, but NBA's defensive line did a really good job. But the guy that really made the biggest performance for the Big Red, in my opinion, was Jonathan Moore. 171 yards, 3 touchdowns, broke an 85-yarder that really pushed the Big Red away from the Raptors. I mentioned in our show that Ravenwood had more pressure on them in this game than NBA, and I think that showed a little bit. Huge win for the Big Red. Ravenwood will look to rebound next week. I'll look for them to rebound next week. And BJ better be ready because there's going to be some Mad Raptors coming in next week.
Yeah, that's a Thursday night game over at Ravenwood as well. And NBA gets Pearl-Cohn at home in week 2. And NBA's got a little bit of revenge on their minds, too, because they've lost the last 2 to the Firebirds. So I think, Scott, you'll actually be out there for that one. Interesting to see how that one plays out.
Yep.
Rockville 44-12 winner over Laverne as the Rockets get their first win of the season. They'll host Smyrna on Thursday night this week. Laverne will travel to Siegel. Speaking of the Stars, 13-6 winners at home against Green Hill, and kind of one of those surprising scores we talked about. And this was Green Hill was scoreless for a while and scored late to get it to 13-6. It's surprised by this one for sure.
Yeah, Siegel's defense is the big surprise here. That game was 0-0 at halftime. Siegel scores, Green Hill answers, Siegel scores to win it there in the fourth quarter. Huge surprise here. I still am behind Green Hill. I still think that they are probably the favorites in their region. But as far as state title contenders, um, it's week one, so you can't really tell. Siegel may be, they may be a state title contender with that defense. It's week one. Green Hill will have to figure some things out on offense to be able to get back in that state title contention for me.
Siegel seems to get lost in that region over there a little bit against Oakland, Riverdale, and whatnot. And it coming out of the gate like this and really planting flag, making a statement this early, it's going to be interesting to see how well they carry over. Green Hill, again, it's a week one result, and we'll see how quickly they bounce back.
Smyrna 35-14 winners over Stewart's Creek in that rivalry game. Bulldogs get off to a good start as they travel to Rockville on Thursday. Stewart's Creek heads to East Nashville for their week 2 matchup. Station Camp a 27-6 winner over White House. The Bison needed a good start this season, and they've gotten it. Now they're going to head to Hillsboro next week for a key region game. White House Thursday night, they get Greenbrier at home, and they'll have to try to rebound. Both teams really trying to rebound in that particular matchup. Stratford 24, Whites Creek 18. Spartans will host Overton. Whites Creek will host Glencliff. Montgomery Central picks up a win 22-13 at Sycamore, and the Indians head to Northeast for their week 2 game. Sycamore at Hunters Lane. Friendship Christian 40, Trousdale County 12. This has been a close game in recent years. Not so this time. Friendship Christian scored early and often. They kind of sent a statement to a lot of people.
Yeah, Yellow Jackets have some things to figure out before region play starts in week 3. Doesn't get any easier for the Yellow Jackets next week as they go to Upperman. They will probably, be a heavy underdog in that game as well. But the people that are freaking out about Trousdale County also have to remember they're starting the season with a state title contender in Friendship Christian and a state title contender in Upperman. Just too many holes to fill for the Yellow Jackets early on to be competitive in these games against state title contenders. Look for Trousdale County to try to stay healthy and try to get better and prepare for that week 3 matchup on the Creek Bank with the East Robertson Indians.
Yeah, they're looking at region play in these first 2 games really to try to find out who and what exactly they're going to be this year. One of these games that had some storylines behind it, unfortunately, was suspended in the third quarter. Northeast was up 30-16 on West Creek while shots were fired at the stadium or near by the stadium during that game. Saw some of the video of everybody down on the ground, administrators trying to keep some control and some calm around there. It's a sad scene over there at West Creek in that game on Friday. Guys, we hate seeing this. And
yeah,
we don't know if this game's going to get resumed or if it's going to end 30-16. That hasn't been decided as of this morning. You just hate seeing this because these are football games shouldn't have this kind of stuff happening.
Right, and I mean, it's one of those deals. I don't know if this make it to anybody that's thought about doing things like that, but guys, don't do that. Like it's a small thing. A lot of these shootings are small things, small arguments between 2 people, and it turns into something bigger, and then an innocent person gets hurt or even killed because of it. And it's ridiculous that we even have to worry about that. We go to a high school football game and have to worry about shots fired. Yep. That's unbelievable, and it's got to stop.
Fortunately, nobody was hurt in this situation at West Creek, so that was some good news there. But still, we shouldn't have to be talking about it.
Agreed.
Westmoreland 14, Portland 13. The Eagles got a little bit of revenge for their week 1 loss last year to the Panthers, and a kick decided it yet again. This time, Portland missing an extra point that would have tied it late.
Yeah, I think that we learned. I think Cam, you brought up the point earlier that I think we didn't really learn anything about Westmoreland. Other than what we already knew, they have a really good defense.
Yeah.
And at Portland, I was a little taken aback at the total, but then again, Cam, why don't you talk about the Westmoreland defense just a little bit?
Yeah, they got Gabe Borders there at Dawson Borders there on the defensive line. Nick Gray, a 3-year starter at linebacker, one of the best linebackers in the state at the 2A level. Just really solid on that defensive side of the ball. But again, as you mentioned, Scott, coming into the season, we knew Westmoreland had a good defense. Everybody in that region knows Westmoreland has a good defense. Westmoreland has to score points. And 14 points was good enough in this game, but it won't be good enough in every big game that they play this season. We talk about answering questions. We really didn't get an answer on Westmoreland yet. But we do get another question, and that question is Portland Panthers. We were really impressed with them in the preseason. Thought that they were going to be pretty exciting on the offensive side of the ball, and that speaks testament to the Westmoreland defense. But Portland definitely has to find some answers after a tough Week 1 loss.
Yeah, and they're going to be on Thursday night at home against Liberty Creek. We'll talk about them shortly as well. Westmoreland travels to Macon County. Their defense is going to get a test with Macon putting up 43 points in Week 1. So we'll learn even more about the Westmoreland defense in week number 2 in that rivalry game. Rossview was 16-14 winner at Wilson Central in a game that they got revenge from last year. Rossview 1-0 and hosting Riverdale this week. Wilson Central now has to go to Lebanon in a rivalry game in Wilson County. Our final set of highlights comes from Smith County. This was a Saturday night game in Carthage between two teams that, let's just say they're neighbors, but they don't necessarily get along. Smith County wins at 27-7. They revenge a couple of years' worth of losses to the Tigers, but as we see in a moment, it wasn't necessarily that the score was as it was. It was how surprising that they got it by imposing their will. First off, this is freshman Caden Powell at quarterback for Smith County. 17 yards. He does not look like a freshman on this run. This was late in the first half as it was scoreless for most of the first 2 quarters. And the Owls took a 7-0 lead with a minute to go before the half. On to the third quarter, and Powell, again, he's going to come right at you here. 13 yards out, around left tackle, and right into your kitchen. They missed the extra point, 13-0 at that point. Gordonsville really couldn't get anything going offensively against Smith County's massive front. Later in the third, Powell makes it a hat trick. 30 yards out on this touchdown run. 19-0 Smith County. And the Owls are having a good time in Carthage. Gordonsville does get on the board here. Matthew Albritton finds Brady Gentry for 35 yards. 3:59 left in the third quarter. It's 19-7 Smith County, but that was all that Gordonsville would get. Here's Jamison Keeley in from 5 yards out late in the third, and that caps off the scoring for the Owls. 27-7 is the final in that one. And some of us picked Gordonsville in that game, and we were a little bit surprised by this score just because we thought that they might be able to do something against that Smith County defense, but they just had very little time, Scott.
And you want to talk about that quarterback. He may look he may be a freshman, but he looks like a full grown man out there. He is a big kid and hard to bring down, deceptively fast. But I think the story here was Gordonsville, their inability to get things really going in the game offensively. They couldn't, and eventually that Smith County size just wore them down. Especially late into the third quarter, it just when Smith County really started, getting chunks of yards and being able to control clock, that offensive line just tended to dominate the Gordonsville, and just that size advantage was massive.
Yep.
Yeah, that first touchdown run that we had there, the left side of that Smith County offensive line, anchored by Dane Woodard, 6'9", 350. They mashed that whole right side of the defense there for Gordonsville. Caden Powell could have tiptoed into the end zone if he wanted to on that one.
Yeah,
Caden Powell, big kid, freshman, and you're going to be hearing that name for the next 3 to 4 years at Smith County High School. And he's a dude that, you hate to say it because he's a freshman, but he may have some Mr. Football opportunities later on in his high school career.
Yep, for sure. Let's hear from him.
Caden Powell, what a night. As a freshman coming into a game like this against Gordonsville, how are you feeling after that performance?
Feeling hyped up. Just got to calm down. Just still a little antsy.
Coach Dyer kind of motivated y'all a little bit more than usual. What was his speech worth to you guys?
His speech was, I think it was a Rocky quote. Or not Rocky, it was a Muhammad Ali quote. So when he changed his name, he said, because they like to call us Carthage, or Smith County said, he said, we got to make him say our name.
Well, it seems like you guys did that tonight. And that offensive line in front of you, you got some big guys in front. Talk about their play, if you would.
Oh, they're amazing. Couldn't have done it without them.
The rivalry being like it is, I mean, what were you kind of really – how excited were you coming into this game?
I was very excited. It's just I was a little nervous.
Now, how do you come off of that, though, and get ready for next week knowing that this one's in the rearview mirror?
Just build off of it. You can always do better.
All right, man.
He speaks softly, but he does carry a big stick as a freshman. So, yeah, opponents are going to have to deal with Caden Powell for this year and many years to come over at Smith County. Just a freshman, still really impressed with his performance last night in that win. Now, we talked about he talked about the speech that head coach Matt Dyer gave. Now, there was a community pep rally, I think it was maybe Friday night, and he referenced Muhammad Ali's fight against Ernie Terrell in 1967. Now, at the time, Ali, of course, formerly Cassius Clay, and Terrell was not going to honor his new name. And Ali said he was going to make him say his name during the fight. He did. Ali beat him up pretty badly. And Matt Dyer took that a little bit literally as far as the way Gordonsville people called Smith County Carthage. So let's hear a little bit about that from Coach Dyer now.
Smith County head coach Matt Dyer. Owls a 27-7 winner over Gordonsville tonight, coach. It's a big win and a big rivalry game. How you feel about this one tonight?
Well, you know, the thing is, everybody's doubted us for so long. And I know that I take it personal. This staff takes it personal. I mean, it don't matter. Everybody picks against us. They picked against us last year. They pick against us this year. And, I mean, that just grinds us. That just gives us a little motivation. It puts a chip on our shoulder because we know what we are. Our conditioning is top notch. You know, they had nearly 80 guys on the field tonight. And I'm not taking anything away from Gordonsville. They are a great football team. They have a great staff. Coach Jackson, Coach Adam Shaw, Coach Petty, Coach Clemens. Those are all great coaches, and those guys are well prepared. That's a good 1A football team, and they're going to make some noise in the 1A playoffs. But, you know, our conditioning is what won us the ball game tonight. You know, we got 47 guys on the team, you know, and we got maybe 6 or 7 that go both ways. But the thing is, we have built a lot of depth. We've developed a lot of our guys, and they contributed tonight. We had about 6 or 7 running backs touch the ball tonight. And I think we had 2 or 3 receivers touch the ball tonight. So we spread the ball out, and we did some good things in the passing game, and we ran up and down the field. But the thing that beat us tonight was or not beat us, but the thing that hurt us tonight was penalties. Well, I bet we had probably 15 penalties tonight, and that's going to be addressed come Monday. We got to clean that mess up if we're going to improve throughout the year and if we're going to improve in reach and play.
Caden Powell, as a freshman coming into this game and playing like he did, how impressed were you with him?
I was very impressed with Caden, but the thing with Caden is he has a great staff around him. He has a great team around him. He has an experienced team around him. And you know, we told him before we come out here for kickoff, we said, Caden, son, you are a 15-year-old kid. You don't have to shoulder the load. You have great backs. You have an outstanding offensive line that is going to protect you. Coach Billy Barnhart does a great job with our offensive line guys. And, you know, he did not have to shoulder the load. We told him, I said, son, you're another cog in the wheel. Okay, you just got to get the ball to the playmakers. Don't turn the ball over and just be an athlete and have fun. And I believe he did that tonight. He made some athletic plays, and he made some great throws for us tonight. But also Peyton Hicks. Peyton Hicks had an astounding night tonight. And we had to move him all over the field. We put him at tight end. We put him at wing back. We put him at running back. He did some great things for us tonight. So all around, we had a lot of guys make a lot of plays for us tonight.
You don't have to motivate guys for this game, but I heard a little speech that you gave this week about Gordonsville and getting them ready. It seemed like it fired everybody up.
It did. You know, it got the community up. And we had a great crowd here tonight. And nothing I do has to motivate anybody. I'm just, you know, I take out the trash and I spend money on things, you know, and it's nothing that I do. But this is a great group of kids, great community support. our coaching staff is top notch, and our kids are better. I mean, I will put them up against anybody in the state right now, and I love those guys to death.
All right, Coach. Congratulations. Enjoy it.
Thank you, Bruce.
And guys, that's why you love Matt Dyer.
He was happy, but it didn't look like it. Look, he was after a loss after that.
he never looks happy.
Yeah.
He accomplished a lot of things in that interview, including throwing shade at me and you, Chris, because we picked Gordonsville this week.
He did. I've known Matt Dyer a long time, so I expect nothing less from him.
Well, if he keeps winning games like this, I fully expect some more people to start picking the Owls from Smith County. Really impressed with their performance. Gordonsville, 3 turnovers, a couple bad plays here or there. Definitely got some things to clean up. Another tough matchup next week for them with Watertown. Coach Dyer, everybody talked about, when he was hired, that he was the right man for the job and would get that program turned around. Well, it's happened a little faster than what a lot of people thought.
Yeah.
And he's definitely got them headed in the right direction.
Yeah, but Smith County's in his blood. I mean, he graduated there. I mean, his family's from there. So, I mean, it's the right place for him.
He's a passionate guy. And that passion has bled over into that community, into that program. And he is building pride, not saying that it was ever left, but it's bigger than it ever was there. Mr. Dyer, I did pick you this week. I know you're happy, but you don't look. But no, and as far as throwing shade, there was quite a bit of that.
Yeah, we don't usually see a banner for the second half, but the cheerleaders kind of got one out that said, "Where's Smith? You just live in our county."
Yeah,
and they showed it to the Gordonsville crowd, which was the best part of it. They're a little bit of appreciate the shade. Appreciate the shade.
Yeah, and it just goes back. This is a cross county rivalry.
Yep.
And Gordonsville gave as good as they got.
Yep, for sure. Let's continue on. We got some more scores to get to from out of area teams or teams from our area playing outside the area. Beach unfortunately fell at Farragut 31-28. Brentwood Academy in overtime lost to Eagles Landing Christian out of Georgia 50-49. Monterey knocked off Cannon County 50-14. Clarksville Academy big win at First Assembly Christian 38-6. Northwest 36, Stewart County nothing. That another one of those surprising scores. The Vikings off to a really good start in 2022. Can they make some noise in that region in Clarksville? We'll see. DeKalb County 35-34 winners over Warren County, keeping going with the scores. Forest 55, Eagleville 24, Ensworth 44, ECS nothing. Columbia Academy 41, Ezel Harding 6. Good Pasture 28, St. George's 19. Grace Christian 46, Humboldt 8. Liberty Creek, congratulations to the Wolves, their first ever win in school history in their first game, 35-6 over Jackson Central Mary, a team that hadn't been on the field in several years as well. The Wolves will play Thursday night against Portland, and that's actually one of the games that's up for the fan game of the week, which you can vote on at 615preps.com through 6 p.m. on Monday. Lipscomb Academy 17-7 winners at a neutral site game against Milton, Georgia. They have another one on Saturday this week against Thompson, Alabama, the 7A power in Alabama that a lot of people are looking forward to as well. So we'll be looking out for that game on Saturday night. Lookout Valley knocked off Mount Juliet Christian 21-6. Webb School on Thursday night took out Red Bowling Springs 37-7. Summit Falls 30-7 to Henry County. Fayetteville takes down Watertown 36-12 in their final score of the week. Warren East out of Kentucky over White House Heritage 41-7. Fellas, that's it. That's all the scores, 52 of them for the week. Final thoughts before we head out.
Just want to see how much growth between week 1 and week 2. A lot of teams have a bunch of questions to be answered. This is one of the most important weeks of the season, because week 1 is your first true test. You have to find your mistakes. You have to correct your mistakes. So some teams will get those corrected for week 2. Some teams will have more mistakes in week 2 and have to get those corrected. But this is one of the biggest weeks of the season. And how well do you make adjustments and change on the fly?
Hey, you guys took the challenge. You went out and went to games. We saw several people in the stands this week. Appreciate you stepping up. Appreciate you for sticking with us through our technological problems. And a big, big thank you to Fifth Gear Technology Concepts for sponsoring this scoreboard show.
Yeah, well said, Scott. Yeah, again, apologize for the technical difficulties that knocked us out of broadcasting yesterday. Hopefully, we'll have Saturdays at 9 a.m. each week going forward. I will not be covering games this week. I'm actually on vacation with my family for the first time in 4 years. So Scott and Cam will be out taking care of games for you this week. I will, however, still do some work from Gatlinburg. So next time you see us do this show, I'll be in a cabin. Just throwing that out there. I'm not trying to brag. If I could do it from a hot tub, that's a different story. But that be a little tough. Be a little tough.
Hey, all I got to say, Chris, is this right here, if you know what that means.
Come on now. Family show. Family show.
It's three fingers.
It's three fingers. Yeah, but, the smart people know what that is. Anyway.
Enjoy it. You've earned it. We'll try to take care of the business while you're out.
Yep. Well, awesome job, guys. Thank you for helping make this off the ground. We will talk to you all this week on the Mid-State 48, getting ready for NBA Pearl and other games around the area. Thanks to Fifth Gear Technology Concepts for sponsoring the show. Obviously, other sponsors as well, Innovate Medical and Miracle Auto Group, as we'll also see during the week. Still plenty to come from week 1 on Sunday. I got a lot of writing to do, so make sure to check 615preps.com for more today, tomorrow, and pretty much every day. We're going to have stuff throughout the season. It's that time of year again, and week 1 was fun. Glad it's over because 3 games in 3 nights, it's exhausting.
Yep.
So for Cameron Reid, for Scott Burton, I'm Chris Brooks. Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you this week in the Mid-State 48, powered by Miracle Auto Group. Thanks again to Fifth Gear Technology Solutions for getting us off the ground on the Scoreboard Show. We'll talk to you again next week as well. Take care, everybody.